Welcome once again, everyone, to Mary's School of Prophecy. And I was using the Mary School of Prophecy bell, as you can see, which is almost like a train engine, instead of my rosary bell, which Sister Renee gave me. So that's to distinguish this series. And we do have a kind of a special program tonight because Paula is going to give her interpretation of George Washington's amazing vision and prophecy, which he gave, well, it must have been 200 years ago, right? Paula, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Hello, everyone.
Okay, welcome aboard, Paula, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so here's going to be the formula of what we're going to do today. I'm going to just give you a brief introduction, and then Paula's going to do her introduction, and then I'm going to do the first 6 slides of George Washington's vision, and then Paula's going to do her decode. And we're going to break this program up into 3 different sessions because it's amazing how much interpretation Paula came up with. She's been working on it, I would say, all week at least, right, Paula?
Oh, yes. And previously, I had done my original version last July, and then knowing that George Washington's birthday was around the corner, I started peeking at it and studying it more, and then I came up with a whole bunch more.
Yes, and you did a great job. So, but as I say, we can't get the whole thing in today, so we're going to go through about 5 slides. But before we do anything, I want to show you the slide. Now, I have got 4 sheets here I have to organize to show you to do this right. I've never had this many slides to work on. So just a minute, I've got to find out where the slides are on my screen. Oh, I know, it's right where I am. Just a minute. Now, here is the newspaper, which had the original account of George Washington's vision. And I'm showing you this, and this is a picture of it on your screen. I'm showing you this because there is a controversial part of this, and that is the 6th line down, if you want to count it down. And George Washington says, "Looking up, I beheld standing opposite to me a singularly beautiful female." And that's the controversial phrase, because there have been many interpretations of George Washington's vision by Protestant end times co-prophets, I guess you could say. And they all censor this. They don't allow that phrase, female, to be used. They substitute words like being or angel. And as you can see in this original screenshot from the newspaper, it's obviously singularly beautiful female. And both Paula and I believe that must refer to the Blessed Virgin Mary, right, Paula?
Yes. Mm-hmm. She's the most beautiful woman ever made by God, because if God, was going to make his mother,
sure,
or his spouse,
sure, or his daughter,
thank you, I was trying to think of the third one, wouldn't you make them the most beautiful?
Singularly beautiful. It's a perfect phrase for Mary. But anyway, I think these other people like Steve Cioccolanti and who's the other guy I was thinking of? Oh, Trey Smith. I think they change it because they recognize it must be Mary, and they don't want to acknowledge that. But anyway, we of course do acknowledge that. So I think, Paula, you can go right ahead with your opening remarks, and I will try to put the correct slide on here. I've got a whole list of the slides that Paula sent me.
Well, put up do you have the slide of the entire front page of the National Tribune?
Well, yes, if this is what you're talking about. Yes, the angel, the angel appearing to George Washington. Yes, I have that slide on the screen.
No, the entire front page of the National Tribune.
Oh, no, I didn't make a slide of that.
Well, you're very naughty, Mr. Engineer.
You should have reminded me. I'm sorry.
I did.
Did you?
It's right there on the stage direction.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go at least 2 more days on this, Paula. So
I know.
Okay.
And we're flying by the seat of our pants.
Yes.
Folks, so we haven't really entirely rehearsed rehearse this, but we have sort of set up a systematic way we're going to present it. So anyway, you can put up the image of the painting of the entire vision from page 7.
Okay, excuse me, people. I've got to find it. Yep, I got it there now.
Okay. So for a synopsis of the complete vision, here we go. At Valley Forge, during the winter of 1777, which is 247 years ago, I believe, George Washington was in his quarters preparing a dispatch. He had given strict orders not to be disturbed, but before long, he sensed a presence. So looking up from his work, he was astonished to see a singularly beautiful female. Again and again, Washington asked in vain the reason for the intrusion. After his fourth query, the visitor responded with just a slight raising of the eyes. The number 4 denotes the end times, and signals the importance of this visitation, even before the visitor has spoken a single word. Washington was soon rendered immobile and speechless. He could only gaze fixedly upon the uninvited guest, who several times addressed him exclusively as son of the Republic, and exhorted him to look and learn as various mystical scenes played out in front of him. Over the course of the vision, Washington was given to see 3 perils destined to befall his nascent nation, 3 wars that would be waged on American soil. Lastly, the exquisite emissary provided a capsulized explanation of the vision, along with words of hope as well as counsel. When the vision ceased, Washington felt that he had been shown the birth, progress, and destiny of the United States. His mysterious visitor is thought by many Catholics to be the Blessed Virgin Mary, for reasons that will be presented here.
Okay, very good for that synopsis, Paula. And I think it's important to note that what you did, that all 3 wars in this vision occur on American soil. And that's what we have to be prepared for. So I think what I will do now, I think this is a schedule. Paula's got her schedule here. So I'm supposed to read the slides 1 through 6, which describe George Washington's vision as printed in the National Tribune newspaper, December. And you can look this up, by the way, people. And just Google National Tribune, December 1880, and you'll find this article. It's right on the front page. George Washington's vision as recorded in the National Tribune. The father of our country, George Washington, was a man of prayer. We have all read of how he went to the thicket many times to pray during the winter. His army was at Valley Forge. However, little publicity has been given to the vision and prophecy he received at that time. The first-hand account of this vision was given in 1859 by an old soldier named Anthony Sherman. He gave it to a writer, Wesley Bradshaw, who published it. In the vision, God revealed to George Washington that 3 great perils would come upon the Republic. He was given to know that America was going through the first peril at that time. Second slide. The old soldier who told the story of the vision said that the nation would soon see the account verified by the second peril descending upon the land. In the report of this phenomenal and most important heavenly message for us at this hour, Wesley Bradshaw wrote, "The last time I ever saw Anthony Sherman was on the 4th of July, 1859, in Independence Square. He was then 99 years old and becoming very feeble. But though so old, his dimming eyes rekindled as he gazed upon Independence Hall, which he came to visit once more. Let us go into the hall," he said. I want to tell you of an incident of George Washington's life, one which no one alive knows of except myself. And if you live, you will before long see it verified. Mark the prediction. You will see it verified. And slide 3. From the opening of the revolution, we experienced all phases of fortune, now good, now ill. One time victorious, and another conquered. The darkest period we had, I think, was when Washington, after several reverses, retreated to Valley Forge, where he resolved to pass the winter of 1777. I have often seen the tears coursing down our dear old commander's careworn cheeks as he would be conversing with a confidential officer about the condition of his poor soldiers. You have doubtless heard the story of Washington going to the thicket to pray. Well, it was not only true, but he used often to pray in secret for aid and comfort from God, the interposition of whose divine providence brought us safely through those dark days of tribulation. Slide 4. One day, I remember it well, the chilly winds whistled through the leafless trees, though the sky was cloudless and the sun shone brightly. He remained in his quarters nearly all the afternoon alone. When he came out, I noticed his face was a shade paler than usual, and there seemed to be something on his mind of more than ordinary importance. Returning just after dusk, he dispatched an orderly to the quarters of the officer I mentioned, who was presently in attendance. After a preliminary conversation, which lasted about half an hour, Washington, gazing upon his companion with that strange look of dignity which he alone could command, said to the latter, I do not know whether it is owing to the anxiety of my mind or what, but this afternoon as I was sitting at this very table, engaged in preparing a dispatch, something in the apartment seemed to disturb me. Looking up, I beheld standing opposite me a singularly beautiful female. So astonished was I, for I had given strict orders not to be disturbed, that it was some moments before I found language to inquire the cause of her presence. A second, a third, and even a fourth time did I repeat my question, but received no answer from my mysterious visitor, except a slight raising of the eyes. By this time I felt strange sensations spreading through me. I would have risen, but the riveted gaze of the being before me rendered volition impossible. I essayed once more to address her, but my tongue had become powerless. Even thought itself suddenly became paralyzed. A new influence, mysterious, potent, irresistible, took possession of me. All I could do was to gaze steadily, vacantly at my unknown visitant. Gradually, the surrounding atmosphere seemed as though becoming filled with sensations and grew luminous. Everything about me seemed to rarefy, the mysterious visitor herself becoming more airy and yet more distinct to my sight than before. I now began to feel as one dying, or rather to experience the sensations which I have sometimes imagined accompany dissolution. I did not think, I did not reason, I did not move. All were alike impossible. I was only conscious of gazing fixedly, vacantly at my companion. Okay, Paula, what an amazing vision given to our Lord, and I am sure by the Blessed Virgin Mary. Okay, go ahead. I think you're next up, right?
You said given to our Lord, but you meant giving to George.
I read it wrong?
No, you're fine.
Oh.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
Well, I was just going to say, if I did, it would be the first in my lifetime, so. I'm sorry if I made a mistake. Go ahead, Paula.
Well, if I make one, it'll be the first in mine as well.
Very good.
Okay.
Touche.
Okay, so my opening comments, and you can put up the image of page 1.
Okay, just a minute. Let me get that here. Yeah, I need if anybody out there would like to volunteer and be a what do I call it? I need a engineer. I need an engineer. I don't mind being the host, but being the engineer also is difficult. Okay, so let me see. I think I got it. Close up with George Washington with Mary over his shoulder. Okay, I got it. It's on the screen. Go right ahead.
Thank you. George Washington described his visitor as a singularly beautiful female who responded to his repeated question about the purpose of her presence by a slight raising of the eyes, which shows that her eyes were initially lowered. Both classic depictions of the most beautiful and the most humble Virgin Mary. As she raised her eyes, her riveted gaze caused Washington to be transfixed. Now I have a note here that it's that you can show the whole National Tribune, the front page if you want.
Yeah, but I don't have that. I'll have it for tomorrow's program.
Okay. And then now you're going to do slides 7 and 8.
Are you sure, Paula?
Yes, because we're going into the first peril.
Okay, the close-up I have here, close-up of, wait a minute, I have here.
You're just going to show the slides now?
Yes.
7 and 8.
Okay, is this the globe?
You can leave that, excuse me, no, go ahead, do the slides.
Okay, well, did you want the close-up of George Washington and the angel? The next one is the color-coded globe.
Not yet. We're on you with the slides 7 and 8.
Okay, well, the only one I've got here is this slide now with George Washington and Mary.
So we're not talking images, we're talking your slides.
Well, that's all I've got.
The text.
Oh, you didn't want the text to go beyond slide 6, did you?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're definitely flying by the seat of our pants. Okay, go ahead. So you're going to count. You want me to read slide 7?
7 and 8.
Okay, I'll read it. Didn't know you wanted this. Okay. Presently, I heard a voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." While at the same time, my visitor extended her arm eastwardly. I now beheld a heavy white vapor at some distance, rising fold upon fold. This gradually dissipated, and I looked upon a strange scene. Before me lay spread out in one vast plain all the countries, that is, continents, of the world: Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. I saw rolling and tossing between Europe and America the billows of the Atlantic, and between Asia and America lay the Pacific. "Son of the Republic," said the same mysterious voice as before, "look and learn." At that moment, I beheld a dark, shadowy being, like an angel, standing, or rather floating in midair between Europe and America. Dipping water out of the ocean in the hollow of each hand, he sprinkled some upon America with his right hand, while with his left hand he cast some upon Europe. Immediately, a dark cloud raised from each of these countries or continents, and joined in mid-ocean. For a while it remained stationary and then moved slowly westward, until it enveloped America in its murky folds. Sharp flashes of lightning gleamed through it at intervals, and I heard the smothered groans and cries of the American people.
Okay, now I will summarize the 2 slides that Mr. Tapley just read regarding the first peril.
Okay, now I've got it.
Color-coded globe.
Oh, that's when you want the globe? Okay.
Yes, please.
Just a minute, Paula. My engineer is there. Okay, there's the globe.
The first peril is the Revolutionary War. The captivating visitor said to Washington, "Son of the Republic, look and learn," and extended her arm eastward toward a heavy white vapor, which gradually dissipated so Washington could see countries of the world as though spread out in one vast plain, namely Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. And he recognized as well the rolling oceans of the Atlantic and the Pacific. For a second time, the visitor addressed him as Son of the Republic, saying again, "Look and learn." A dark, shadowy being, like an angel, floated in midair between Europe and America. The angel cupped both hands and dipped them in the Atlantic Ocean. With his right hand, he sprinkled some water upon America. With his left, he cast some over Europe. At once, a cloud arose from these countries and merged mid-ocean. For a while, it stayed stationary. Then, it moved slowly westward until it enveloped America in its murky folds. At intervals, sharp flashes of lightning gleamed through the gloomy mass. Washington heard the smothered groans and cries of the American people. My analysis of the first peril. The heavenly visitor's arm extended eastward. East indicates that God is directing the communique. Washington sees the major continents of the world and lists them in the order we typically pronounce the four compass points: Europe, north; Asia, east; Africa, south; and America, west. Washington also identifies the two oceans that bookend America. A dark, shadowy angel floats over the Atlantic between Europe and America. He scoops and sprinkles ocean water upon America with his right hand, indicating God's favor. The angel then scoops and sprinkles ocean water upon Europe with his left hand, indicating less favor. Immediately, from each of those countries, a cloud arose and merged mid-ocean, where it stayed stationary for a while. This shows the initial cooperation between the American colonies and Britain, a virtual meeting in the middle. But then the cloud drifted westward and enveloped America in murky folds that represent Britain's tyranny over America. Periodic flashes of lightning and the smothered groans and cries of the American people symbolize America growing increasingly distressed under British rule and the resulting Revolutionary War, the War of Independence, in which Washington was presently engaged.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Paula. And I don't have anything to add to that, so we might as well go right ahead with what comes next now, Paula.
Slide 9 and 10.
And this is the actual account from the New National Tribune, right? Okay.
Yes.
A second time, the angel dipped water from the ocean and sprinkled it out as before. The dark cloud was then drawn back to the ocean, in whose heaving waves it sank from view. A third time, I heard the mysterious voice saying, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." I cast my eyes upon America and beheld villages and towns and cities springing up one after another, until the whole land, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, was dotted with them. Again, I heard the mysterious voice say, "Son of the Republic, the end of the century cometh. Look and learn." At this, the dark, shadowy angel turned his face southward, and from Africa I saw an ill-omened specter approach our land. It flitted slowly and heavily over every town and city of the latter. The inhabitants presently set themselves in battle array against each other. As I continued looking, I saw a bright angel, on whose brow rested a crown of light, on which was traced Union, bearing the American flag, which was placed between the divided nation, and said, "Remember ye our brethren." Instantly the inhabitants, casting from them their weapons, became friends once more, and united around the national standard. Well, that sure sounds pretty obviously to be the Civil War, right, Paula?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and so the summary of that second peril, the Civil War, the shadowy angel for a second time sprinkled ocean water as before on America and Europe.
Do I need to put that slide on with George Washington?
Yes. Do the close up of the angel holding the sword and flag that was on page 4.
Let me see if I have that. I have George Washington on his horse between the two sides of the Civil War. That comes after the color-coded globe, right, Paula?
No, just do you have the close up of the angel that was on page 4?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Okay. Where did I stop? Okay. The murky cloud that had enveloped America then drew back over the ocean into which it sank from view, symbolizing Britain's tyrannical control of America was dead in the water. The visitor for a third time said, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." Looking at America, Washington saw villages, towns, and cities springing up across the whole land from the Atlantic to the Pacific. A fourth time, the visitor said, "Son of the Republic, the end of the century comes. Look and learn." The shadowy angel turned his face southward. From Africa, a foreboding specter approached America, gradually disturbing every town and city. Americans took up arms against each other. Then Washington saw a bright angel bearing the American flag and wearing a crown of light upon which was traced the word Union. The angel placed the flag between the divided nation and said, "Remember, ye are brethren." At once the citizens dropped their weapons, reconciled, and united around the national standard.
Very good. So that is the second peril. And
now I'm going to do an analysis of the summary.
Okay.
And then you can show the battle scene between the Confederate and Union soldiers.
Okay, I'll put that on the screen right now for you. It's on the screen. Go ahead, Paula.
Okay. So my analysis of the second peril. The shadowy angel sprinkled ocean water over America and Europe for a second time. Then the Revolutionary War was won. Next, American villages, towns, and cities multiplied from coast to coast. 3 types of communities. The number 3 indicates God's ordaining will. Then the visitor said, "Son of the Republic, look and learn," but interjected a time stamp. "The end of the century cometh." She literally meant the end of the 1700s, but was figuratively indicating the upcoming third peril, which is an end times prophecy. Next, the shadowy angel faced toward Africa, from where an ominous specter approached America and disturbed every town and city. Note that now only 2 types of communities were mentioned. The number 2 indicates that the national disturbance was about man. More precisely, the ownership of man, that is, slavery. Americans armed themselves and fought each other in the Civil War from 4/12/1861 to 5/26/1865. Respectively, the numerals in those states add up to 23 followed by 33. That sequence is understood as captivity followed by freedom because 23 can be understood as the fraction 2/3, which translates to the decimal 0.666, representing the beast who wants to keep man enslaved. And the 33, of course, would represent Jesus, who grants freedom. Then a bright angel appeared wearing a crown of light that had the word Union on it. The angel held American flag and placed it between the divided nation, exhorting its citizens, remember, ye are brethren. The citizens put away their weapons, reconciled, and united around the U.S. flag.
Very good, Paula. Now, what slide do you need next?
That's it. We can have a little brief discussion. You can have some closing remarks, or you can go straight to the chat.
Oh, okay. So you want to save the rest of this for tomorrow then?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then probably the following day. There's just so much.
Right. Well, one thing I think I've learned from this demonstration is that we should have practiced.
Well, honey, I don't think you were referring to your stage directions.
Yeah, Paula, I have Paula's stage directions right in front of me. So.
And you need a little ruler so you can file.
All right, there you go.
Your place.
There you go, Paula. But it was fun to do this program, and it was a little different. And I really tried to condescend to Paula because it's really her interpretation, and she did a great job, as you all can tell. So if any of you have comments on it, we are not getting to the third peril, which George Washington describes, which is clearly what we are going through right now, which is why Paula and I have decided to push this out on today, being the celebration of George Washington's birthday, because it's very pertinent right now. And when we describe the scenes from the National Reporter newspaper of 1880, you'll see that it's happening right now in front of us. So is that it? Have you any other comments, Paula, or should I go to the chat?
You can go to the chat.
Okay, so if any of you would like to comment on this, I will go to the chat right now. I have enough time, and let me know what you think about Paula's decode, because I was very impressed with it, and I think all of you should be too. Adam and Nancy check in. Ginger is here. Giuseppe gives us a thumbs up. Peter Perrine said that all is well. That was George Washington's last words. Well, thanks for that, Peter. I didn't know that.
Beautiful.
Yes. Now, Uncle Jalapeno is going to give us a Protestant version, I think. In George Washington's vision, he refers to a woman of singular beauty. Yes. Different interpretations have said that this is the Virgin Mary, despite George never saying that himself. I believe it was an angel. Well, angels are not female, number one. Angels are always described as masculine. Well, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, you list all the angels, they're always masculine. And in this vision, George Washington describes the angels and that he always uses masculine pronouns. But when he describes the woman who appeared to him, he uses female pronouns, and I emphasize those by putting them in black on each slide. So I don't think you can say that George Washington was saying it by the use of his choice of pronouns.
And I think angels are typically traditionally represented as males, even though they are sexless. Mm-hmm. They're powerful.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah, that's why. Okay, Ginger responds to Uncle Jalapeno. Even though angels are often depicted as men and women, they are beings without sex, as far as I know. Yeah, exactly right. Ginger responds to Peter. Uncle Jalapeno says that's an interesting point that I didn't consider. Peter Perrine says to Uncle Jalapeno, having been a Protestant, it is likely that George didn't recognize this woman as Mary. Well, that's true. That's a good point, Peter Perrine. He would have used the term Mary if he had thought that he recognized her as a singularly beautiful female, but not being raised in the Catholic tradition, it would not have occurred to him that it was Mary. I think that's a good point.
Yes, and would you say that that's similar to Keith Nestor, calling Mary Esther?
You don't mean Keith Nestor. You mean Kim Clement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, Kim Clement. He did not realize that he was talking about Mary. He used the term Esther, and of course, in the Old Testament, Esther is a prefiguring of Mary, and he completed his program on Esther by repeating the phrase "yes" to Esther 15 times, which is, of course, a representation of Mary's rosary. Okay, Sam checks in.
Oh, and he got that vision on the Feast of the Annunciation.
Yes, very good point. That Kim Clement did. Yeah.
Yes, March 25th.
He didn't recognize that either. He didn't know the significance of that. Okay, Sam says, good evening. Thank you for this program, Paula and Mr. T. Uncle Jalapeno says, George had a painting of the Blessed Virgin Mary hung in the Washington's residence at Mount Vernon. If he really saw her, I think that he would have identified her in his vision. Well, that's an interesting point. I'll have to find out when he got that painting in his residence. Of course, he's in Valley Forge at this point. So,
well, the next Peter Perrine gets a comment below.
Oh, okay. Peter says, wrong. George's nephew, Henry Benbridge, who inherited Mount Vernon, purchased the pastel drawing in 1802. Okay, thanks, Peter Perrine. I'm glad we have an educated audience here. Paula, this is great.
Uh-huh.
Uncle Jalapeno says, you are correct, Peter. My mistake. Okay, very good. Well, we're having a lively conversation here, everybody, and I appreciate it. Sam says, where is John McLaughlin from the John McLaughlin group when you need him? He used to shout wrong, and I don't remember that, but okay, Uncle Jalapeno says, the issue that I have with this vision is that every time that God/Jesus or an angel appears to someone, they identify themselves to the person that they are talking to.
Well, I take a little exception to that because Our Lady of Lourdes, Bernadette kept asking her, who are you? Who are you? And it wasn't until the very final vision, which I think was the 18th or the 16th vision, then she gave her title, I Am the Immaculate Conception, which Bernadette had never heard before, and she had to say it all the way home so she would remember it. But also in Fatima, Our Lady refrained from telling the children who she was until October when she said, I am the Lady of the Rosary.
Okay, all good points, Paula. Wow, this is very interesting, everybody. Okay, let me see what Uncle Jalapeno says. Oh, Peter says, did the angel that warned Joseph to flee to Egypt identify him or herself? Well, it's not mentioned in the Bible who the angel was. So that's a good point, Peter Perrine. Let's see, Uncle Jalapeno says, Peter Perrine, you get the gold star today. Well, Uncle Jalapeno, we're glad you're here, Uncle Jalapeno, because we like to, it sharpens our response if you're here to give the other side. That's great. Peter Perrine says to Uncle, perhaps a dream is not the same as an appearance, although that might be splitting hairs. Yes, this was not a dream. This was an actual vision, I guess you could say. Let's see. Uncle Jalapeno says, that's a great point. I have a lot to learn. I salute you for your knowledge and patience with me. Well, you're very kind, Uncle Jalapeno. We're glad you're here. My mother was a Protestant, raised as such, so and when our families get together, half are Protestant and half are Catholic. And we kind of have an unspoken rule not to discuss religion. Okay, Peter Perrine says, and I am returning your kind salute. Okay. Roar Lion says it was a great lesson in our history. Thank you, Paula and Mr. Tapley. Swamp says, Pieta, I think both John McLaughlin and Jack German have been dead for a while. I remember that even though the group disagreed, they all got along and weren't vicious to each other. Well, yeah. I mean, you'll see that the final response of the woman to George Washington is that union is what will save America. It's disunion that will cause our downfall. So we're all Americans on this chat. Let's remember that.
Well, most of us. There are some people from South Korea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't mean that.
They might be tuning in, but maybe not chatting.
That could be okay. Let's see. Swam says. Sandra says, "What about the War of 1812 as a peril?" Well, there have been many wars. I think the War of 1812 was not as serious, evidently, as the three wars it's interesting that there are three great leaders during these wars. The Revolutionary War, of course, George Washington, the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, and coming up, the next war, I think it's pretty obvious that Donald Trump will be our president during this last great peril.
He is now.
Yeah, well, you know that's true. I mean,
He already is. We know it, but
the one in office now is just a figurehead. I think most people would recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Swamp says.
It was really it's the pivotal wars on our soil.
Mm-hmm,
the pivotal ones, the major.
Right. I think that's a good term, pivotal. Yeah. Let's see. Swamp says, I want to hear the third prophecy since we're here. Swamp wants to hear it right now, Paula.
No, it's a cliffhanger. You have to tune in tomorrow.
Diane Thornton says, Washington turned Catholic on his deathbed. I've certainly heard that. Adam and Nancy say, this is a really good presentation, Paula and Mr. Tapley. I only wish that we had had time to rehearse it a little bit because... but other than that, if you can put up with our non-technical expertise, the prophetic expertise, you're not going to find anywhere else. Mr. Fink says the span of years is 2023 to 2033, suggesting the end of the age is 2033, then ushering in the next age, the millennial. Yes, 2033 is often given because that is exactly 2,000 years from the death of Jesus on the cross. Is that right, Paula? I think that's right. Yeah, okay. Swamp says, Sam, how are you feeling? Have you recovered? Swamp says, I always heard too, beware of an angel in female form. They are always depicted as male. I think you're right. I think that's safe to say, Swamp. Frank says, this article, when was this written and who wrote it? I have seen, my chat just took off on me. Wait a minute, people. I have seen National Archives of Washington Papers and never saw this. Well, all you have to do is Google National, what's it called? National.
I went right to the Library of Congress, and then you just type in George Washington's vision.
Okay, that will work. I know I've done it myself. I just typed in National Tribune, and you could read all of their issues, and then you search for December 1880. And this article, which I have read part of it to you, is right on the front page, word for word. And it's...
And then you have to click in, if you go on the Library of Congress site, you have to click on the December
1880
issue, and then it'll bring you into all the subsequent pages. But you can just enlarge the front page, which you can't do on the first link. They kind of have a menu that kind of covers up the bottom of it. But if you click on the 8 pages, then you can enlarge the front page.
Okay, and Frank says this article, when was it written? Okay, 1880, and who wrote it? What was the name of the person who wrote it?
Wesley Bradshaw.
Okay, yeah, very good, thanks. Amy says angels are male, and the sanctified are males also. We are church militant, and therefore male in the spiritual realm. Right. We don't fully understand why we speak of God, all three persons of the Trinity, as male, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and yet females are made in the image and likeness of God also. So there's a mystery there that...
Well, the thing, too, is that the angels were created before man, so God would have made them male. Females didn't show up until Adam was bereft of companionship.
Well, that's an interesting possibility. Okay, didn't think about that. Okay, let's see. Sam says, thanks, Swamp. I feel another year older and $1 shorter. All kidding. Thank you for asking. I need to get more rest. I overdid it this weekend, but I enjoyed everything. Okay, Sam, and we keep telling you to take it easy.
Yesterday, Sam had his cake and he ate it too.
You know, I think
what he said on his program.
Did he say that? I think his new presentation of himself with a rosary around his neck, I think, and he's set back a little bit from the camera, is much better. Have you noticed that, Paula?
Yes, I like it better too, Sam. I don't feel like you're like on top of me when I'm looking at this thing.
I think this is much better.
There's a little personal space there.
Yes, right. Okay, let's see. Sam says he's super tired. Ginger says to Swamp, great point. If only our culture could rise to the level, a decorum of discourse. Sam says, I think it's a side effect of the new medicine they got me on. Yeah, I'm on a medicine that makes me sleepy too. Sam says, I will never forget when Dana was impersonating John, and then the real John McLaughlin showed up on the show. I never watched that program. Adam and Nancy say, good point, Sandra. Ginger says to Sam, have you been through a real health? Oh, you have been through a real health ordeal. In our town, we have a renowned naturopath who says we must learn to listen to our bodies, trying to talk to us about our condition. Well, I'm sure that's good advice. I mean, American medicine's whole theory is to put a Band-Aid on everything. I mean, to them, an aspirin cures a headache, and of course, it does not cure a headache. It hides
I notice, the doctors, when you tell them you have a problem, the first thing they never ask you is, what's your diet like?
No, that's true. And diet has an awful lot to do with it.
It does.
Yes. Okay, Amy laughs at Swamp. Sandra says, we could have lost the country had we lost the War of 1812, which is where we got the national anthem. Okay, that's good, Sandra. I don't know how to answer you on that. You could maybe Mary made a mistake there. I shouldn't say that.
Bite your tongue.
The War of 1812 is not considered nearly as significant as either the Revolution or the Civil War. Okay, or the Spanish-American War. There's another war that could have been mentioned. That was in the 1890s, I think. Let's see. Ginger says to Amy Blount, thank you for the correction on the sex of males. Facey says, that article is 100 years after the fact. Let's see. The discourse, you're right. The article is 100 years, but it's describing an event of 1859. And it's describing the words come from this 99-year-old soldier who was General Washington's aide, his bodyguard, actually. So that's the timing of it. I should probably do a chart showing the timing. George Washington's vision, the recounting of it in 1859, just before the Civil War, and then the printing of it in 1890 in the National Tribune. 1880, excuse me. Okay, Ginger says to Amy Blount, oops, correction, the sex of angels being male. Ginger says to Sandra, good point. Peter Breen says, we accept the mysteries, for if we lean too much on logic, we are in darkness. Right, good point. Diane Thornton says, Father Blount gives a history on Washington, and it's encouraging. Amy Blount says, creation is female, so men and women and angels are female. Men and women and angels are female in the physical.
Creation is female. I don't get that.
That would be, Amy, you could spend probably a whole program explaining that one. Let's see. Ginger says to Amy Blount, I don't know. You have a response for Uncle's first comment. Okay, well, that's the last chat I see. So thanks, everybody. We did go a little bit over the length of our program we had planned on it. And I guess we could have done the whole program if we had.
Oh, no, it's too much to take in at once.
Yeah, okay, good point. Do you think we can do it by tomorrow, Paula?
Oh, yes, we'll be back again for another 45 minutes at least tomorrow at 6:15.
And hopefully, I think we should probably do a little rehearsal or get our...
Or a certain somebody, maybe the engineer needs to read his stage directions and follow them with a ruler.
I think it is time to close out this program.
Well, thank you all for tuning in.
Okay, and And thank you, Paula, for helping out. In fact, doing the decode. So we'll see you all again tomorrow, same time, hopefully. And of course, in the morning. And don't forget now, Sam is up in a little less than an hour from now on his PFI Rosary channel for a daily live stream. I'm not sure about Kyle. He might be running a little bit late tonight. And then I will be back tomorrow morning for a rosary at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So until I do see all of you again, may God bless all of you. And God bless you, Paula.
Oh, thank you. God bless you too, Mr. Tapley.
Thank you. And goodbye and good night, everyone.